This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you by Insightful Accountants Be Insightful membership program. Get 9 expert-led training tracks, over 30 CPE hours a year, hands-on workshops, and year-round premium content to grow your skills and your practice. Learn more at blog.insightfulaccountant.com. Just click the premium member content button.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast. My name is Gary DeHart. I am the publisher of Insightful Accountant, host of the Accounting Insiders podcast. I always like to put the date out there because we may say something right now that's relevant and 2 months from now it might not be, or 2 months from now it might be wrong. So today is October the 17th. The year is 2025. That means we are in Q4 of the year, which is a little scary. So for you guys, it means you've got trade show heads on and trade show caps on and out and about. Before I even get into that, so I need to say who you are, right? So my guests today are Mary Miller, who is the Director of Marketing for PayTrace, and then Sam Johnson, who is head of partner, or is the Partner Success Manager for PayTrace. And we're going to dive into what that means. That's the question of the day, apparently. Nobody at PayTrace knows what Sam does. So, but thank you both for being here, and certainly appreciate you taking time out. And I'm going to dive in right there. So I'm going to start with Mary, ladies first. Mary, Director of Marketing. So I want to hear, what does that mean? But also a little background in what got you, what were you doing before PayTrace? Or maybe you've always been there. Maybe you were born at PayTrace. I don't know. But so what were you doing prior to PayTrace, and kind of have you always been in Fintech, and just a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks so much, Gary. We're excited to be here. As Gary mentioned, my name is Mary Miller, and I'm the Director of Marketing at PayTrace, and I've been at PayTrace for about 2.5 years. I have been in B2B technology marketing, mostly in financial services, almost since I was born. A little bit after that, though. But interestingly enough, I actually was, when I was putting myself through college, I was working at a small CPA firm, and we served clients much like all of the pro advisors and CPA firms that are part of the Insightful Accountant community. We served small businesses. We, did their financial statements, entered all their receipts, produced all of their tax returns, and everything that a small CPA firm deals with, and all of the manual processes that kind of go along with that back then were quite painful. I'm talking the early 90s here, dating myself a bit. But as my technology career evolved and stayed mostly, again, in the financial services space, I've worked as an accounting manager. I've worked in the ERP systems and accounting systems that we support today. And then I spent about the last 10 years, a little more than the last 10 years, directly in the Microsoft channel with AP and AR automation solutions providers. And PayTrace has become an AR automation solution provider, in addition to all of the other elements of its background that Sam's going to share with us as well.
Okay, great. And so in that role, like in the ERP side, was that just core marketing? I mean, you're out
primarily
driving
channel marketing, event marketing, all of the, messaging, positioning, website, email strategy, communications, digital, as digital was evolving, really, as that space was unfolding. As we got into the ERP space, a lot of it was still, again, very, very manual, very, word of mouth. Events were where a lot of business and a lot of relationships happened. And while that's still true today, I think in the middle of that, COVID changed things, right? When everybody had to kind of get used to this sort of interface, and screen transactions, screen communication became sort of the norm. I think that brought people a little bit out of our comfort zone, because we really need, to learn from each other and grow from each other. And as you mentioned, event season is upon us, and that's a great place and way to do that. I think that as the technology marketing in that space has evolved, it's also taught us all of the additional channels that are now part of that. Social, direct communications on the web, meeting new people through business social channels and consumer social channels, and then converting those relationships to a business environment. So much has changed in the last 10 years in B2B marketing, and it's fun to see how it has grown. And I only look forward to how it's going to continue to be influenced by things like AI and additional online communications and connected systems. So I think there's just so much more that we're going to see in that space, specifically in the financial services, because everybody's looking for efficiency, and that's what we're going to help them with.
Yeah, and the challenge, you kind of touched on it, is for all of us. I mean, we're media, but it's trying to reach people where they want to be reached, right?
Correct.
Because I mean, it's like every day there's another podcast, or there's another event, or there's another, dot dot dot, you name it. And now we have to, from a publisher's perspective, and even I guess any content producer, um, now you have, search engines being taken over by, instead of being search engines, now they're just giving you the answer. Here's what we
Right.
want you to know. And
Right.
so you don't need all these other resources that they're taking the information from. So kind of cutting us out of the loop. Um, just so it's just constantly evolving. So, all right. So we know what Mary does. So now we're really going to learn what Sam does. What exactly is a partner success manager?
Uh, I love this question. I try to explain my job to my wife even, and she doesn't even know what I do still. Uh, Partner Success Manager, I guess I think it's the title that fits what I do best, and my role in PayTrace has evolved so much over the last 10 years. Really, I'm on Mary's team. I'm technically on the marketing team,
Okay.
but Partner Success Manager basically covers everything from content creation to make sure that all of our partners have the resources they need, our users, our merchants, know what the heck we do and how we do it well, so they can utilize us to the best of their abilities. And really supporting our partner marketing or our partner management teams, our relationship management teams, so that as we bring on new partners, as we're managing new partners, that they are essentially successful, right? That they have all the tools that they can go out there and service their clients.
And so define partner.
Ooh,
Yeah.
coming in with the hot question, really easy
Right.
questions, but also difficult
That's right.
questions.
Right.
Um, we have a lot of different partners, right? When I think about PayTrace holistically, we have a lot of different arms, right? We are a technology platform or software company. So we have a lot of resellers, right? People that
Mhm.
are out there essentially wholesaling our technology.
Okay.
Um, but then we also have the merchant services arms. So we have people that are bringing on clients to do payment processing with us. We have referral partners, which when I think of this audience is really going to be kind of the best fit for that, which is working with um, associations, CPA firms, consultants, buying groups, things like that,
Yeah.
where right they're not necessarily payments masters. That's not their bread and butter, but they can identify a need and then right bring on clients and have benefits to that.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to clarify that because partner can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a little ahead of myself before. So let's talk. What is PayTrace? I just jumped right in. I started talking, asking questions, but I think it's really important to know who it is. When we went through who we're talking to, right? But and we've mentioned PayTrace, but what is PayTrace? And um, what do you guys actually do?
Mary, I'll jump in on this one,
Yeah, who
Go
wants
for it.
that one?
yeah, I know. Please add to it. If I was to describe PayTrace just very simply as we make receivables better.
Yeah.
And that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? So we work with businesses specifically in the B2B space. Mary, I know you like to say because we work with B2B, we're like B2B solutioning, right? But um, we do payments for a lot of back offices, and that could be anything from virtual terminals that can be integrated or embedded payment solutions into different business softwares, ERPs. We can get into that a little bit. NetSuite, QuickBooks, Acumatica, Microsoft Business Central, um, amongst many others. But really trying to take that payments process, that receivables process, which a lot of people don't think about. People think about payments as kind of a commodity, but there are ways to right improve it, make it less painful, make it better, get paid quicker, get cash flow. Because when you think about it, cash is kind of the lifeblood of a company. So we're just trying to make
Yeah.
that better for our clients. Mary, I'd love to hear your additions to that. I know you have lots of things to say.
Yeah, I mean, I love that foundation. And I think what's really cool about PayTrace is that, a little over 20 years ago, it was founded as a gateway provider. And so the B2B payment gateway is, kind of that central piece to connecting how the money moves, particularly from a credit card transaction process for these small businesses that Sam's describing. And over time, that became a very key element to a lot of solution providers, like Sam mentioned. So people would embed our gateway. We have a very user-friendly API. So for other solutions that wanted to include payments and offer that sort of solution for their customers, they would embed our technology behind the scenes. In many cases, people don't even know they're using us. It's kind of fun. Even at events right now, we'll have people come up to us, go, "Oh, I just learned, or I didn't know that you were in this space yet, because I've been using you for years."
Oh,
So
yeah.
those are the fun stories that we hear over time. But as that gateway is still to this day a very solid foundation and core part of our solution set, it has become kind of the foundation of the stack that we've now built on.
Mhm.
So as Sam mentioned, we've added merchant services to that, meaning you can sign up and add a credit card processing account. You can add an ACH processing account. You can add a connected system, an embedded system into your ERP system, or use it standalone. But essentially, as the B2B payment experts, our goal is to help companies accelerate their cash flow. And especially right now, as organizations are challenged with, how am I going to get paid faster if my customers are taking longer for whatever reason that they might be affected by to pay my invoices? What tools, what systems, what efficiencies can now become my currency to really accelerate that process? So efficiencies like, can we help automate their collections management, which is one thing that we do? Can we give them a client portal to enable their clients to pay their bills online and digitally, very much like we do as consumers, right? We're all consumers first. So we expect that business transaction to be just as easy as when we click a button on our phone to make a purchase of any kind.
Right.
So we give them a client portal to make it easy for their customers to pay. Do we help them reconcile at the end of the month? And again, as a accounting background, I know how difficult end of month batch reconciliation can be, whether that's downloading your statements from your bank, reconciling all of your credit card sources, pulling things from other systems. That's a very painful, very time consuming process. I've never met an accountant who said, yeah, I think I want it to take longer to close my books. It's already the middle of the next month sometimes, right? Or nearing the end of the next month,
Right.
or, beginning of the next quarter at quarter end. And do I have time to get my sales taxes done and all of that? This data is key to driving their business and making financial decisions. So we've really expanded our solution set from the foundation of that gateway to helping them automate and make all of these processes more efficient, and really give them the tools that they need for financial insight, financial visibility. And so that whole solution becomes one more thing that they can use to accelerate their business.
And just to add really quick, Gary, you mentioned something at the beginning of this as a media, right, business, that you want to
Yeah.
meet your listeners where they are. That's kind of our mantra, is we want our clients to meet their buyers where they are, right? Very,
Okay.
very rarely do people want to write a physical check anymore. I don't know if anybody ever did want to write a physical check. So we want to allow our clients, our merchants, to be able to provide the payment solution to their customers that are going to make sure that they get those payments in the way that makes the most sense to them.
So that's I'm glad you brought that up, because as Mary was talking, one thing that I thought about was, what was the evolution of the company that got you into that? Was it more PayTrace sitting back going, hey, surveying the market, saying, all right, we need to add this, we need to add that, we need to add this thing? Or was it customers saying, hey, what about this? Or what about that? Have you thought about this?
I'll speak to that one just for my longevity at the company. It's a mix, right?
Yeah.
I think one thing that I thought was interesting first coming on to PayTrace is the fact that we are very heavily B2B focused, as opposed to business to consumer, which is kind of like what everybody thinks about. That's like the big flashy fun thing. As a
Right.
consumer, as consumers ourselves, we have all this great technology, tap to pay, we have Venmo solutions, we have all these new shiny. When I first joined, it was EMV, the little chips in your credit cards. That was the
Yeah.
big deal. But nobody really talked about B2B, even though 76% of the United States payment volume is technically business to business or business to government payments.
Wow. Okay.
And payment forms are very archaic. It's literally, and I speak from example. I used to work in sports prior to PayTrace, and at a minor league basketball team, we had a little credit card terminal plugged into an internet jack in our back office. And I'd get on the phone and take a payment over the phone. run over to my credit card terminal. I'd put them on mute. I'd punch in their credit card number after writing it down on my piece of paper, process it, run it back to my computer, say that we got your transaction approved. And I thought that's how things were. I thought that was, cutting edge technology. Um, and at the time, I mean, and even today, a lot of people are still doing processes like that. Large organizations are doing processes like that. Um, so it is learning from our customers. It's learning from these, conversations, solutionings
But
that we're
Sam,
having with them.
you have to tell the rest of that story.
The rest, oh, how it led, I guess, yeah, I'll finish that off then. Okay. We started using PayTrace.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
He
We
literally
And
was a customer.
okay.
I was a customer. I think I'm the only PayTracer that was a customer. We somebody told us that that was a terrible process. I don't know who told us that. A merchant service provider said that don't do that. That's not PCI compliant. We could get fined if somebody saw that I was writing down credit card numbers and not
Mm,
shredding them immediately. And so that led to us adopting a solution like PayTrace, which is PCI compliant. It encrypts all the payment data, it does all that cool stuff to make sure that we're doing things the right way and efficiently. So I didn't have to
mhm.
walk back to my credit card terminal. I can just do it on my computer, which was fantastic. Um, so maybe I was an early adopter of PayTrace. I don't know. Anyhow, uh,
Customer number 3.
yeah,
3. Yeah.
exactly. So with that said, yeah, it's really great technology that most people don't think about. That's top of mind. We're using it, but it's not like the big squares or the ones the Intuits that you constantly see in the
Hmm.
marketplace.
You mentioned kind of when you were describing the process that you used to have, and you
Mhm.
said there are some big companies that still do that. Why would big companies still be doing that? Is it because just lack of awareness, or I don't want to change? Change is difficult and
Change
I
is
don't like
hard.
change. What do you run
Yes,
into?
yes, and yes.
Yes
Yeah.
and
Uh,
yes.
it's
Yeah.
Okay.
it's a knowledge gap. No, very rarely do people go into the workforce saying, "I love payments." They may want to be an accountant or a financial professional. That's great, but payments isn't kind of the top of mind for them.
Yeah.
Uh, right? I went into the sports business. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm going into fintech. I'm going into payment processing. That's my dream job." So there's a lack of I think there's a lack of knowledge and education on what's out there. But to your point, Gary, is that change sucks,
Mhm.
especially for large organizations. And we work with clients all the time that are implementing ERP systems. And Mary, you know this better than everybody, is that implementing an ERP system or a new solution or a new process is painful, right?
Yeah.
It's
It makes me
it's
think of the customer case study actually that we just recently did, Sam,
yeah.
with a company in the high-end manufacturing of tile industry and other custom solutions that they implement both commercially and for consumers, but they do it through the architects and the designers and the construction professionals that actually do the installation of these things, where they were just on old systems for so long. I mean, when we think of companies that are now 20, 25, 30 years old, when they started, many things were very manual, as we've talked about. And then as you start using a system, let's say you're 5 years old, 10 years old, you get to the point where you're like, okay, I can't grow on paper and just spreadsheets anymore. I need a system. Well, that system has now been in place for, let's say, 15, 20 years, depending on the age of your company. And as you grow through those stages, everything Sam just described, from the, writing things down on a piece of paper to entering things over here and storing things over there and hoping that you can find it all when the customer order comes in, right?
Mhm.
That there's those disconnected processes, but much of it is driven by disconnected systems or just older systems that you've adopted that have gotten your business to the point of growth and success that it is today. And that's great in many cases. But when you start to turn that corner, it's like many of the CPA firms, honestly, that probably use QuickBooks and smaller accounting systems today to support their clients. At some point, when they get to the point of growth beyond what that system, a great system for small businesses, they may get to the point of outgrowing that, right? They may need to look for a mid-market ERP system. This client that we're talking about actually chose NetSuite as their solution as they kind of outgrew those other systems. But making that decision, Gary, to your point, and as Sam mentioned, change is hard. And then to assess, because you don't just go, okay, now we're going to take this one out and go get another one. It's not like just getting a new car or something like that. This is a big financial investment, process investment. If you're really going to do it right, you're going to take a step back and do a business assessment and say, what do we need? How should these processes be? Where do we want data to live? How do we want to manage customer orders? And many times what we find is a lot of the companies we serve are in manufacturing, construction, distribution, those B2B companies that Sam mentioned earlier. And so they need to think about that entire flow of the sales cycle, the production cycle. And so assessing what systems they need is a challenge so daunting that sometimes people go, you know what we're doing is working. It's Band-Aids and duct tape and shoestrings. And gosh, it really is tough to close things and find things in a single source, but it's working for us today. It's not broken yet. We'll keep doing it. Change is hard. So unfortunately, it is system and process driven that keeps people there. And it's system and process driven that takes people to the point of making a change too.
Yeah. Until you have somebody that steps in and says, no mas, right?
Exactly.
This has to change. We're spending hours and hours and hours on something that should take minutes, right? I mean,
or seconds. Yeah.
So, okay. So let's talk about, actually, I'm going to, and this might be more for me than anybody that may listen to this. So when we talk about payables, right? Talk about this space, accepting credit cards. And I guess I need to ask the whole question from what your services are, specifically. So you can help me accept credit cards via digital, like attach it to my invoice, right?
Yes.
Point of sale, like a terminal at a retail shop.
Some, and right, I'll caveat saying we're not going to be a great fit for most like brick and mortar retail shops.
Okay.
Definitely not restaurants. Not a good fit for us. When I think of point of sale in business to business, it's usually going to be something like a device that'll plug into your computer and you can run a quick credit card on that. Or it might be like a little mobile reader that you can have out in the field if you have a dispatch workforce and need to take a payment. But when it comes to more of the retail, the B2C stuff, there's a lot of great technologies out there. We can definitely help point you in the right direction for that. But,
not really your core.
Not the core. I think you nailed it on that first one, right? The payable, receivable, the invoices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one. Card, ACH processing, really in line with the types of clients that are the best fit for us.
Okay. And then something like that would be, I mean, it really is GL agnostic, right? I mean, you kind of work with any and all. Okay. And then
any and all as a standalone solution and or embedded as into QuickBooks Online, for example, which is what makes our solution great for CPA firms that are using QuickBooks to support their clients. As they or their clients outgrow that, we're also embedded in NetSuite, Business Central, Acumatica, a lot of the mid-market accounting and ERP systems as well. So if they're embedded in those, like we're kind of behind the scenes. And so we live and breathe, they still live and breathe in the accounting system that they use every day, day in and day out. And we are there to support that process. And so if somebody needs the standalone thing that you just described, absolutely 100%. If they are using systems like QuickBooks or others, then we have embedded solutions that enable those processes to happen very seamlessly.
Okay, great. And that kind of is a good segue, I think, into how would a QuickBooks Pro advisor, how would a partner identify like good clients that would their clients that would be a good fit for PayTrace?
I can take a stab at this one, Mary, if you want to jump in and add to it. Kind of our ideal client profile is going to be more of those back office payments like we were talking about. Mm-hmm. And it's the ones that fall under, we're going to keep using the term B2B and B2B is so broad. It's, it can be anything from your professional offices and services verticals like the ABCs, the accountants, bookkeepers, CPAs themselves. It could be, marketing professionals, things like that. But then it can also translate into construction verticals. You've got medical is a big area for us to focus on. Um, so I don't want to say that we're completely like business agnostic in that sense, right? Don't put a restaurant towards us, but we want more of those suppliers, right? Who's going to be the suppliers, the wholesalers, manufacturers, things like that are really going to be kind of the bread and butter that we work with. And the ones that have potential challenges, like they're still accepting a lot of paper check, right? They're doing a lot of manual payment processes. Um, and even if they are doing more digital payments like card today, um, we want to look at, if people are overpaying. There's a lot of merchants that pay 3, 4, 5% effective rate to accept a credit card. And in some cases, that could be way overpaying. So we want to look at solutions that can drive down the cost while still fitting their needs as far as their workflows go.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, Sam, I think right now, today, as Gary mentioned, it is October 17th, 2025. Incidentally, today is the day that Visa is implementing what is their newest interchange program, which is the Visa CEDP program, which is Commercial Enhancement Data Program. And what that means is for companies that are using commercial purchasing cards or corporate cards, they can and should be getting better credit card interchange rates. In other words, lower transaction processing fees. And that's something that PayTrace has been doing since day one. It's one of the things that differentiated us when we got off the ground, even with our proprietary gateway and the evolution of everything that we added to that, was that ability to identify corporate cards and the types of transactions that were running through the system as being business to business. And so on those transactions, we were able to automate the savings to make sure they were paying the least amount of transaction processing fees possible to save money for their business. Because we all know as we grow, accepting credit cards, accepting ACH, all of those things are going to be part of the ways that our customers want to pay us. And especially when it comes to credit cards, as Sam just mentioned, that can be very expensive. So you don't want to have to assume that those rates are going to increase, especially if you're doing such high value, not necessarily high volume, but higher value transactions in the B2B, market. You want the costs associated with those transactions to be as low as possible. So that interchange factor is being implemented right now. And so what CEDP's goal is to reduce the number of transactions that are being inaccurately classified as B2B transactions. And therefore, if we all go out to dinner and I put it on my corporate card, that is not a corporate transaction. If we all decide we're going to, buy some major construction equipment so that we can build a business together, that is a legitimate business transaction. So what CEDP is trying to do is reduce the amount of inaccurate transactions that are going through and technically attempting to qualify for the lower rates, and actually legitimizing, making sure, validating that the transactions that are going through the system are in line with the requirements, that do have the right data elements, that are truly B2B. Think of it as the products and services that get delivered to the back door, to the warehouse, to the dock of a business. Those are the transactions that we're talking about that are B2B, that are going to have the greatest impact with this program, and in general is everything that Sam's talking about with B2B card transactions. So as this program evolves, it's sort of the evolution of PayTrace's unique differentiators, in that we are continuing to automate and optimize those payments and make sure that our customers are getting the absolute best payment rates that they can possibly qualify for by identifying that transaction data correctly for them.
Yeah, and really, really quick, just to add on to that, and circling back to the original question that you asked, Gary, is about, right? What do people look for the best fit for this?
Yeah.
Right. When we think about what Mary just said about driving down the cost of credit cards with interchange, and it's very timely right now with this new program that Visa just rolled out. We think of right, QuickBooks Pro Advisors. They're heavily working in the QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks ecosystem. Intuit has their own processing. They do their own credit card processing. So why would anybody remove that and move to something like a PayTrace? The challenge with Intuit is that they sell on convenience, right? It's already working within their ecosystem.
Yeah.
So they can charge for that, and they can charge quite a bit for that. And where PayTrace comes in is we look at that and say, you don't have to be locked into and behooven to into its payment processing. You have options. And with PayTrace, we're able to take all those credit card transactions, still leverage all of, right, QuickBooks's functionality, right, their native product. But on the back end, on the actual transaction side, we're able to help drive down those costs significantly, while adding additional functionality into QuickBooks.
Mhm. I
And
think
so,
oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Mary.
Okay, I was just going to close out the, the what's in it for the client and what's in it for the partner. I think Sam just
Yeah.
nailed it. That is certainly the value proposition for the end client, where their overall transaction processing costs are going to be reduced. But as the service provider, as the CPA firm, there are ways that they can take advantage of that too. They can, add to their services to make sure that they're saying, hey, we're going to manage all of your invoices, your collections, your reconciliation. There's value in that, right? That's time saving for the end merchant, and knowing that they're going to get them the best rate, as well as a really kind of full end-to-end solution story for them as well.
And value add too, right? I
Mhm.
mean, for the, bookkeeper, CPA,
Exactly.
the firm, because, if my accountant calls me and says, hey, we were reviewing and we saw that you paid X, and
Mhm.
if we move you over here, assuming everything is equal, this year
Yep.
versus next year, you're going to save, X. Well,
Mhm.
I'm saving. Great. I like
Yep.
that. Thank you. You're doing your job, in my opinion. That is
Exactly.
what I'm paying my accountant to do, is to look out for me, uh, proactively, not reactively. I mean, I can't go back
Exactly.
and recoup all those fees that I paid, right?
That's right.
But we can save money moving forward. So, do you, in this space, and when I say this space, kind of the QuickBooks space, since you brought it up, Sam, are you finding, as you guys get a little bit deeper into this space, are you finding um, being received with open arms, or are they basically going, it's so much easier just to stick with, like you said, it's convenience, QuickBooks payments or what have you, using their embedded solution? Or are people open to that conversation?
Very much so. Right. Especially when you lead with that concept of you're overpaying,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
And it's not like in a lot of areas where before we said change is hard, this is the easiest change ever, because it's no change to the actual user, to the actual person running the transactions.
Yeah,
They're still using their native QuickBooks account. They're not having to use some sort of third-party middleware, right? This is truly just embedding our payments and replacing Intuit's payment processing. So very much open arms, because people love saving money, and they they don't have to change anything other
right.
than some of the back end stuff.
Okay. And then, so while we're here, and then we'll push into the partner program and then kind of wrap it up. What does that process look like? So let's say, so I'm an account, or my accountant says, you know what, this is a better buy. What does that look like to get me onboarded as a user? Was it, I'm sorry, I'm going to caveat or add one more. What does it look like from the accountant's perspective? And what does it look like from the customer's perspective?
Sure. Mary, if you want to tackle the accountant's perspective, I'll tackle the customer perspective.
Sure. So for the accountant, it's basically becoming a PayTrace partner,
Yeah.
and Sam, as your partner success manager, Gary, will reach out to you and say, hey, I would love to train you and your team, and do sessions to make sure that they understand the story, the questions to ask, the value prop, the how to identify, and then he'll walk through the session with you. He'll do several rounds of literally training demos and Q&A, and then we'll share our partner resources and all of that with you. So as a CPA firm, getting on board can be as simple as, a few phone calls and a training session to say, yes, this works for us, and this is how we can sell it to our clients. And then it's a matter of enabling it specifically within QuickBooks. And I'll let Sam speak to that for both the CPA firm and then how that would carry through to their clients.
Okay.
I was going to say, I gave myself the easy one on this one. Really, from the customer implementation perspective, in our portal, there's literally a button that says QuickBooks Online. You click on that, it asks for your QuickBooks Online username, password. You type it in, you're integrated.
Okay.
It used to be, there used to be like, oh, developers need to be brought in. We need to
Mm,
consult. We need to have a couple phone. It's literally plug in. I don't use the term plug and play lightly. This is as plug and play as it possibly gets. So when I say minimal disruption, it's literally, takes 30 seconds or less to get that connected.
Okay. Anything similar with like Zero, or are you working with Zero?
We do work with Zero, not directly. We have a few ISV partners that we work with to partner to build out some of these different integrations. Um, when I say similar, it's not going to be necessarily as plug and play where you're just
Right.
putting in, but yes, we can integrate into some of the other accounting platforms that are out there as well in
Yeah.
similar functionality.
Yeah. And I think everybody understands kind of, the QuickBooks space. I have to lean back, the QuickBooks, user base is out here, and other GL's user bases aren't there yet, right? So of course, hey, we're going to invest here first, and then I mean, I think everybody that's listening to this is a business person at some level. So I think we all get that. So that makes perfectly good sense. So let's talk about the partner program, and then I think that kind of covers all of the big topics that we talked about wanting to cover. Details of that partner program as it stands today, and if there's anything in the pipeline changes for that you might be able to share.
Yeah. So, I mentioned the product partner program a little bit earlier. Whether you are an accountant, right, or a consultant or whatever that might looks like, right? You work with businesses as customers. You can definitely join us as a referral partner. We're happy to get you hooked up with our partner management team, and we'll talk about how we can grow together and what that looks like for you. We do have, different revenue share opportunities, and really overall, we want to make your clients add more value to your clients. So you can find that on our website, paytrace.net/partners, and or you can just contact us and we'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah. And so if I thought, hey, this makes sense to me, or I want to learn more, I'm going to go to the partner
paytrace.net/partners.
And I'll get connected with a person that I can get on the phone with and ask questions. We're going to go old school, right? Pick up a telephone with a wire on it, right?
It just works. And I have to say, and it's one of the things, it's another one of the things I think that's differentiated PayTrace over the years, is that when you call into our team today, whether you're an end client or a partner or a reseller or somebody who's trying to integrate with our system or whatever, you're going to get a real live person on the phone within 20 seconds, and we are going to make sure we get you to the right person, division of the company, subject matter expert. And, just like we talked about, sort of taking that assessment view of the business and the process and everything when you're looking to make a change or implement something new. The same thing is true today with our support team. We want to help you solve problems. We're not, while we work with transactions, we're not a transactional business. We're a relationship business. We're really trying to help organizations as partners grow their business and add value. And so one of the things that we look at is, how do our businesses align, right? Is our value prop similar to what aligns with your value prop to your customers? Are you trying to help them overall improve their financial processes? Incoming payments is a piece of that, right? We want to tell the whole story. So if we're working with companies that are, Gary, to your point, trying to be proactive and help their customers grow and help their customers save money, help them be more efficient, those are the things that we're looking for. The technology, of course, matters, but the who they're going for and how they're telling that story is a big piece of the alignment fit to determine if they're a good fit with our partner program. Of course, we're going to help them make money and have a revenue stream, but if that's the only reason they're doing it, that's not usually the best fit. Usually that's a result of building the right relationships, finding the right clients, developing the right solutions, telling the whole story. And then that we know that we'll identify the other opportunities, and the revenue will come as a result of that.
Okay. And then I'm going to go back to the identifying, and if I'm the client or the CPA, so the process to where I would know, let's say again, if I'm the accounting pro, is I'm looking at my billable, or my what I was charged last year, right? Or my client was charged last year,
right?
Married up against your fee base, and I mean that's how I get that answer, right? Of, does this make sense for me to move or not? I mean, is it that cut and dry?
Yes and no. That's definitely a large portion of it. We want to be able to take a customer's merchant statement, right? What their credit card statement looks like, and be able to review that and do an analysis on that. But from a holistic point of view, we do want to get into what does the process for your admin look like when they're taking that payment? We want to learn and get in depth with the customer and figure out, well, where are the inefficiencies and how can we improve that from a payments perspective? So, kind of that's a good starting point I think of is looking at that bill, but we want to take that a step further and really provide that additional service.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I like earlier you said, and I wanted to mention it earlier, but kind of forgot. You had mentioned basically everybody isn't a good fit, right? And so you're not just going, hey, we take everybody. Well,
Right.
just because it's not the right fit, then there's better places for you to go, right?
Right.
So, but I think for anybody that might be listening to this, it's worth taking a look at, right? If you kind of meet those minimum criteria, if you're primarily in that B2B or your clients are primarily B2B, okay, well, we check the number one box, right? And then if you want to help your clients potentially save money, box number two, then make a phone call and have a discussion. And it's worth it. And again, as a small business owner, and we have an outside accounting firm that we work with, if they came to us and said, hey, we think there's ways to save money, we will listen and we will appreciate that, right? And that just really creates a lot more value and makes me a lot stickier to my accounting firm. Like, look, they're giving me advice. And that's one thing, in this space, and I've been in the space a while, advisory has always been talked about. It probably has 12 different names over the past 12 years, but it's about advisory. And accounting firms and bookkeepers even, and the pro advisors need to be giving advice. And this is I don't want to call it low hanging fruit, because it's not, like you said, it's not exactly cut and dry, but it's fairly low hanging fruit where you can look and see what I've spent. Well, one, am I a fit? Yes. Two, here's what I spent and here's what it would have cost otherwise. It's pretty straightforward. And since you are primarily B2B in your focus, I think Mary had mentioned fairly high dollar amounts typically, right? And so, fractions of percentages matter.
That's right.
Yeah, little change can make a big impact.
Yeah. So, well, great. All right. So if people want to reach you,
paytrace.net/partners.
if they want to see you face to face, we mentioned before, it's trade show season is here. It's upon us. I've only got one more that I'm going to, and that's Intuit Connect in a couple of weeks, but 10 days. What's that look like for you guys? What's the show season look like?
Yeah, we've just wrapped up a couple in the space, and then next week is the Microsoft Dynamics Community Summit, and so we'll have a presence there. And the week right after that is AFP. Unfortunately, I think at the same time as Connect, which is the Association for Financial Professionals, and we'll have a presence there. And then we'll be wrapping up the year and looking forward to the first quarter of next year, where things will start all over again with Acumatica and other things in the space. And then of course we're present at Scaling New Heights. We were there for the first time this year and plan to be part of that program again next year as well. And it's a great way to get to know the team, ask the questions, learn how our businesses align, and it's where you build those face-to-face conversations and relationships, as you mentioned, Gary.
Yep. And how was Scaling New Heights? I mean, it's to me, it's one of the better shows, if not the best show in the space.
Yeah.
It's very engaging. And again, I've been in space a while, and I don't know if you know this, Mary, but Joe Woodard and I started Insightful Accountant.
I did know that. Yes.
Yeah. And then
very exciting.
Yeah, and I think 2018 parted ways amicably and everything, and we're still deeply embedded in, and not in his business, but at that show. And so my experience was from going there since the second show. It's a very engaging audience, and
It is.
they do come by, and most of them are looking for solutions to help their clients. And did you find that kind of reception as well?
I did. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and to get to know, kind of, it took me back to the days of working at a CPA firm. It was like, this is exactly how it was. Everybody's friends, everybody knows each other. And as you're trying to learn from each other, there's no better way than, we all have our clients, right? But there's no better way than to talk to somebody else who's dealing with the same challenges and pressures that you do day in and day out. How do I take my accounting firm to the next level? How do I add 2 more clients a month, a quarter, a year, whatever my capacity is? The answer isn't always, hiring more people, right? Sometimes the answer is, how do I build efficiency in? What other tools or systems are out there that I can learn about that might not be, something that I'm aware of even yet today? And just that networking opportunity. And then we worked with, the team for the Pro Advisors party as well with you guys. And that was a lot of fun to kind of just hang out and relax at the end of the day and network and get to know a lot of the members of the community. It was a really great event.
Great. Yes, it was. So, all right. Well, safe travels. Hope all your shows go very well coming up.
Thank you.
And
Same to you.
yeah, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we will not see you in Vegas, but
Hopefully next
perhaps
time.
we'll see you somewhere else. So,
Absolutely.
great. All right. Thank you very much.
Are you an accounting or tax professional who wants to stay ahead without spending a dime? Join thousands who trust insightful accountant and tax practice news to keep them informed and empowered. Get expert updates on QuickBooks, Xero, tax planning strategies, and workflow tips delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a solo bookkeeper, firm leader, or tax advisor, these newsletters are your shortcut to what's next in the profession. They're free, practical, and built for people like you. Visit insightfulaccountant.com and hit subscribe to start your smarter workflow today for free.